Hello guys, my name is Brandon Red, and if you have never been to this channel before, this is Ramen Noodle Budgets, where we try to make things as cheap as we possibly can. Now, I don't know if you guys keep up with my community tab on YouTube, but I did make a post there recently announcing the new series that this channel is doing. Now, this video is unfortunately about a week late, but this is part 1 of 6 of a series where we're taking cheap 99-cent store Walmart hockey masks and turning them into Friday the 13th Jason masks, each from one of the films. So in this tutorial, I am specifically doing part 3, which is obviously in the title of the video. So these masks you can find pretty much anywhere at this point. I heard you can get them at Target. I get all mine from Walmart. They're literally 98 cents. They come out to like $1.07 or $1.06 with tax, at least where I live. And you can buy a whole bunch of these things and test them out and do as much as you want. So here is the part 3 mask we're going to be making. It is not finished. At the time of filming the intro and the conclusion of this video, I haven't finished it. I just wanted to get this filmed really quick because I was bored. Before anyone freaks out, yes, this isn't going to be a 99-cent mask. Obviously, you do need other materials. If you want to follow on and make every single mask that I'm going to be making in this video, you can go down, you can buy everything for the first mask, and you can just use the same paint, use the same materials. So, if you would like to win one of these masks, at the end of every video in this series, there will be a chance to win the mask by subscribing, and commenting down below, and at the next video, we'll be showing the giveaway winner from the last video. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. I'll re-talk about that at the end of the video. So yeah, let's get started, and let's make a Jason mask.
Alright, so the first thing you're going to do is obviously cut off any of those obnoxious tags. This also includes the straps because we are not going to be using these flimsy, horrible elastic straps that are provided with the mask. Now the mask, like the original one, does have a few extra holes, so what we're going to do is putting a little bit, I'm just using like frog tape, it's a masking tape. I'm putting it behind any of the holes that we want to fill. So the side strap holes, and then there's the one extra hole in the top, one extra hole in the middle, and the 2 nose holes. Now I'm using plastic wood. It's all-purpose wood filler. It's really just because it's what I had. I'd honestly use something like a cement or a Bondo to fill this in because it dries so much quicker. This stuff, you apply it and it dries. It starts pink and then it dries like a flesh, weird natural tone. It's really weird. It did take quite a bit to dry, but I did use a hairdryer to kind of speed up the drying process because I'm very impatient. So I basically just slathered a little bit extra in the holes so that I would make sure that they were filled. I did 2 masks at a time because I originally planned on doing the part 4 mask at the same time, but you'll see why that mask kind of turned up into like a test mask. So as you can see, it dried kind of a natural tone. I'm just using an 120 grit sandpaper to try and sand that super smooth. So there you can see that. So then, using a reference photo, I just used a Sharpie and freehanded where the new holes need to be. Now, this really isn't rocket science. You can do it as detailed or as meticulous as you want. My holes really don't line up on both sides. It's kind of asymmetrical. So I ended up finding a drill bit that was the exact size, and this is where I ran into problems. So someone in the original video recommended that I actually put the drill in reverse to get cleaner holes. That wasn't working at all. So I ended up just using, going the regular direction. The mask, some holes would come out fine, and some holes, like the sides, because it was so thin, it would literally, the plastic would just explode, as you can see right there. It would just completely crack and shatter. Now, eventually I was able to kind of figure out if I just let the mask, or if I let the drill bit kind of just hover over the mask and kind of just let the friction eventually go through instead of pushing it. This ended up being the test mask because sections exploded, it cracked on the sides, and that mask was pretty much useless at that point. After that was done, I used a sharp knife to cut off any of the burrs that were left by the drill, and then I actually went back in with the drill on some of the holes that were just not, I don't know what happened, they just didn't look good. I didn't have this problem with the first time I did this. I then sanded the whole mask and all of the burrs smooth with 120 grit sandpaper. Not shown, but I also used my heat gun to try and melt some of the really small plastic burrs inside the holes. So some of the holes obviously were a little shattered, but I really didn't mind. So here I'm using like an almond paint. It's a nice color. It's a satin. I sprayed a pretty generous coat of this on the paint, trying to cover up some of the heavy scratches that I made with the sandpaper because I did use kind of a low grit. And then after that was done, I used this Lemongrass Satin, and I really lightly misted it because Jason's mask in part 3 isn't white. It's not even really off-white. It's kind of like a meringue yellowish color. This is the color after 24 hours of drying. It was still a little bit tacky, but I knew I would gloss it. I then used a pencil to try and draw out where any of the damage areas were going to be, or where any of the scratches or anything specific were going to be. use reference photos for this. Obviously, I looked at some other people's work on Etsy, on Google Images, and there was a few different variations. I ended up using a piece of sandpaper kind of folded so that I could get a really thin kind of distribution. You can use obviously a file or anything else small. I went over the nose. I did some scratches around the cheeks. Basically wherever it was, there were uncertain holes. The eyes were pretty important to scratch up. This was kind of before I did that. And then I ended up actually sanding over the whole mask really lightly to create little scratches all over the surface, as you can see here. So for the chevrons, I'm using some Cricut vinyl or any type of permanent vinyl. You can get this at Walmart, anywhere. I actually sketched up the chevrons in Photoshop and used my Cricut to cut it, or any type of like a silhouette, anything that cuts like a vinyl. Obviously though, since this is such a basic shape, you can use a X-Acto knife and a ruler to cut it out. So here are the chevrons. The first time I did it, I made them way too big for some reason. They should be 2.5 inches across for the large one. So I ended up removing that because I didn't, and then I ended up going and getting, reprinting them or recutting them to 2.5 inches in diameter. I reapplied those over the mask, and then I got a much better shape. Now, I don't use transfer tape when it comes to doing my masks. I just kind of freehand them because I thought it was a lot easier. Transfer tape tends to be a little bit sticky, and I didn't want it accidentally peeling off any of the paint. So the left chevron is supposed to be a little bit off kilter to the one on the right. That's why I did that. It's kind of more straight up than the other one to get a more accurate look. Obviously, you don't have to do that. You can do it however you want to. And as you can see, the Jason mask is really starting to take shape. Now, speaking of taking shape, I would not recommend doing this. If you were going to do this, I would do a heat gun before you do any paint. The mask is a little flat, so I was really dumb and kind of just put it high over a stovetop and kind of reshaped it just a little bit, just to get a little bit more shape. But in the end, because the plastic of this mask is so thin, it did end up kind of jumping back to shape, so it was kind of useless. I mixed up a brown and gray or black acrylic and kind of got this dark gray color. I painted it over any of the serious detail and then wiped it off with a wet rag, and then used my fingers and a paintbrush to kind of just try and blend it and make it look a little bit more like natural damage. I looked at a lot of reference photos. I went over the chevrons so I could blend those in a little bit more so they weren't so clean. Here is the final paint job. I honestly think it looks a lot like the NECA mask that they sell. That's what I was kind of using in the reference photos. After that, I used a crystal clear enamel and went over the entire paint job just to kind of set everything in and get those chevrons really stuck, because I did use a removable vinyl, but after using the gloss clear coat, they were stuck on there. As you can see, it didn't come out crazy gloss because the texture on the mask is so kind of rough because of the sanding. Now to do the straps, you just need some 1-inch elastic and some heavy duty snaps. I got these both from Walmart for under $10, and you can use these to make many masks. I basically drew out the 5 holes, because you have the 3 strap areas and then the 2 on the bottom that aren't used. And then I used a smaller drill bit to fit these through, and this didn't have any problem. So I think on the next mask, I need to drill pilot holes. I think that's the key. I really didn't have any problem doing that. You want to put the one side of the snap through, and then there's the other portion that goes on top, and it comes with the setting tool. You just need a hammer or anything blunt to hammer down the top piece. You just put that in there, and then you hammer the top down, and then you want to repeat that for the other 4 snaps, and right away this mask actually looks like kind of professional. It kind of looks pretty awesome. The bottom ones are supposed to be painted to match a little bit, but I decided to just leave them as it is. Using the elastic, I kind of measured out how far I needed to be, and I cut an extra 2 inches on both sides and sewed it over. You can also use hot glue. I know that works really well for this. And then I made another piece slightly smaller, and then made a little loop by sewing that through, and that became the head strap, the one that kind of goes over the head. Using scissors, I poked a small hole into each of the 3 ends, and then used the other end of the snap and set those in. And there you have a really, really easy way to make those straps. Took me less than 10 minutes to make these, and they look pretty awesome. Then these will snap right into the ones you put on the mask, so the straps are actually removable like the one in the film, and they're kind of screen accurate. And then after that, your mask is pretty much finished. I was insanely happy when I saw the final end product. I think this looks great. And because you guys were so mad in my original video, I did, of course, try the mask on because I wanted to see how it would look and how it would shape. It actually did a pretty decent shape. Obviously, the mask isn't really accurate to the original shape of the original mask, but I think this obviously has the look. You know what it is, you know it's Jason, and I think it looks fantastic. Here's a final comparison of the original to the new one. You can obviously see the huge difference we made with that mask.
I really hope you guys enjoyed this part one of this series, this tutorial. Obviously, I had a whole bunch of difficulty with the drill, with some of my paints, and just kind of figuring out sizing and everything, which is fine. I mean, it's part 1. I have 5 more times to improve. In the next video, which will be part 4, that's going to be posted this Friday, October 4th. Kind of fitting. Because I am so far behind. And then the rest of the schedule will be correct. So I'll have the schedule down in the comments. The description down below will have the new schedule, which is going to stay in line with what it used to be. And yeah, so if you guys want to win this mask, it's still not finished. I filmed the intro and the ending at the same time. I don't know. If you want to win this mask, the finished version, all you have to do is subscribe to this channel, like it, and comment down below. That's all you gotta do, and then I will choose a winner in the end of the next video. So the part 4 tutorial at the end will have a way to win the part 4 mask, and then I'll be announcing the winner of the part 3 mask. So hopefully that makes any sense at all. Yeah, so I'll see you guys on Friday. Yeah,